The sky above Nevada seemed unusually bright that morning as Dr. Sarah Chen stared through the observatory's main telescope. At first, she thought the strange shimmer was an atmospheric distortion, until it started moving in ways that defied natural phenomena. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her phone to call the director of the Global Space Observation Network, GSON. Within hours, observatories worldwide confirmed what Sarah had seen. A fleet of massive vessels had entered the solar system, their hulls gleaming with an iridescent material unknown to human science. They moved with impossible grace, defying known laws of physics as they decelerated from near-light speed without any visible propulsion system. The first transmission came as the vessels positioned themselves in a perfect hexagonal formation just beyond Mars' orbit. It was elegant in its simplicity. "We are the Zeraxian Concordat. We come seeking peaceful exchange." The message repeated in every major human language, the translations flawless. In GSON's underground command center, Sarah worked alongside hundreds of scientists and military personnel analyzing every bit of data they could gather about the visitors. General Marcus Hayes, recently appointed head of Earth's newly formed First Contact Division, stood behind her as new readings came in. "The energy output from just one of their ships," Sarah murmured. "It's greater than Earth's total power generation capacity." She looked up at Hayes, her expression troubled. "They wanted us to detect that." Hayes nodded grimly. A show of force wrapped in diplomacy. Classic tactic. The general's instincts had been honed by decades of military service, and something about the Zeraxians' approach felt orchestrated. Too perfect, too precise. While the world's governments scrambled to organize a unified response, Hayes had quietly activated a network of deep space monitoring stations that GSON had planted throughout the solar system years ago, preparing for exactly this scenario. The Zeraxians requested a meeting with Earth's leaders in neutral space, a space station to be constructed at their expense in lunar orbit. They offered to share appropriate technologies with humanity, emphasizing their role as guides for developing civilizations. Their messages were always courteous, always measured, always slightly condescending. 3 days into the diplomatic exchange, Sarah's team made the breakthrough. Hidden in the background radiation of the Zeraxian transmissions was a massive amount of encrypted data. While their AI systems worked to decode it, Sarah noticed something odd about the radiation pattern itself. "General," she called out, "look at this wavelength analysis. The pattern. It's not random noise. It's a language, but not the one they're using to talk to us." Hayes immediately ordered all communications with the Zeraxians routed through GSON's quantum encryption system. Hours later, Sarah's team had their first partial translation of the hidden language. What they found chilled them to the bone. "Species shows dangerous advancement rate. Cognitive architecture indicates high adaptation potential. Recommend immediate implementation of standard containment protocol. Awaiting authorization for cleansing if diplomatic absorption fails." Sarah's hand shook as she read the decoded fragments. "They're not here to help us," she whispered. "They're here to either control us or eliminate us," Hayes finished. "Because we're developing too fast, becoming too advanced." He straightened up, his decision made. "Dr. Chen, initiate Protocol Omega. Full communications blackout. And get me a secure line to Project Eclipse." Warning signals flashed across Sarah's screens as more decoded messages revealed the Zeraxians' true nature. They were not explorers or diplomats. They were gardeners, pruning the galaxy of species they deemed too aggressive in their development. Their peaceful overtures were simply their preferred first approach. If a civilization accepted their guidance, they would be permanently limited, their development carefully controlled. If they refused, the images embedded in the coded transmissions showed the fate of other worlds that had rejected Zeraxian protection. Worlds reduced to radioactive ash. Worlds whose atmospheres had been stripped away. Worlds where the laws of physics themselves seemed to have been twisted into weapons. In a secured facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. James Rodriguez received Hayes' call. As chief scientist of Project Eclipse, he had spent the last decade working on technology that humanity had never intended to use first. But as he listened to Hayes' report, he knew the time had come. "How long do we have?" he asked, already moving through the facility's winding corridors toward the main research chamber. "Their diplomatic messages are becoming more insistent," Hayes replied. "Based on the decoded transmissions, they'll likely issue an ultimatum within 48 hours. After that." "Understood." Rodriguez reached the chamber's massive doors, scanning his palm to gain entry. Inside, suspended in a field of shifting energy, hung what looked like a perfect sphere of absolute darkness. It was Project Eclipse, humanity's ultimate insurance policy. 10 years ago, a mining operation on Mercury had uncovered something impossible: the remains of a civilization that had visited our solar system millions of years ago. Among the artifacts was a partial schematic for a device that defied known physics. It had taken thousands of scientists working in secret to understand even a fraction of the principles involved, but what they learned had changed everything. The Xeraxians believed they were the most advanced species in this sector of the galaxy. They believed their mastery of physics and energy was unmatched. They were wrong. As Rodriguez began the activation sequence for Project Eclipse, he thought about the irony of the situation. Humanity had built this weapon hoping never to use it, planning to reveal its existence only when we were ready to join the galactic community as equals. Now it would be unveiled not as a symbol of advancement, but as a weapon of survival. Sarah's team worked through the night, decoding more of the hidden transmissions. Each new revelation painted a clearer picture of humanity's situation. The Xeraxians weren't just cautious of developing civilizations, they were terrified of them. Their entire society was built around preventing the rise of potential rivals. "They've done this hundreds of times," Sarah reported to Hayes. "They find developing civilizations, offer them guidance, and either subjugate or eliminate them. But look at these readings. Their ships, their weapons, they're all based on the same fundamental principles. They haven't truly innovated in thousands of years." Hayes smiled grimly. "Because they're so focused on preventing change that they've stopped changing themselves. Doctor, what would happen if they encountered something that operated on principles they've never seen before?" Before Sarah could answer, news signals began broadcasting from the Xeraxian fleet. The message was being transmitted globally, bypassing all normal communications channels. "People of Earth, your species has been evaluated and found to possess concerning developmental patterns. For the safety of the galaxy, you must accept guidance and restrictions from the Xeraxian Concordat. You have 48 Earth hours to submit to our authority. Failure to comply will result in immediate cleansing protocols. This is your only warning." As the message repeated worldwide, Hayes opened a secure channel to every major military and scientific installation on Earth. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "what you're about to hear is classified beyond top secret. 10 years ago, we found something on Mercury. Today, we're going to show the Xeraxians why it's dangerous to underestimate human ingenuity." In the Rocky Mountain facility, Project Eclipse hummed to life, its dark surface beginning to ripple like liquid night. Humanity's response to the Xeraxian ultimatum was about to change the galaxy forever and demonstrate why you should never corner a species that had spent its entire history overcoming impossible odds. In the depths of the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Rodriguez walked through a maze of quantum computers and experimental equipment toward the central chamber, where Project Eclipse pulsed with barely contained energy. Teams of scientists worked frantically at monitoring stations, their faces illuminated by the ethereal glow of holographic displays. "Status report." He called out to Dr. Maya Patel, his lead quantum physicist. Maya looked up from her calculations, dark circles under her eyes betraying countless sleepless nights. "The quantum matrix is stable, but we're seeing fluctuations we've never encountered in testing. It's like the device is adapting." The heart of Project Eclipse wasn't just advanced technology. It was something that challenged their fundamental understanding of reality. The ancient Mercury ruins hadn't just given them blueprints. They'd revealed that the universe had rules humans hadn't even known existed. Above ground, the world watched as the Zyrexian fleet began deploying what looked like crystalline satellites around Earth. Each one pulsed with a cold blue light that seemed to distort the space around it. General Hayes, now coordinating from GSON's command bunker, received constant updates about their capabilities. "They're creating a containment grid," Sarah explained, pointing to her latest analysis. "Each satellite is designed to manipulate local spacetime. If they activate the full network," she didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone knew what cleansing protocols meant. The Zyrexians' true message had been broadcast worldwide, destroying any hope of keeping the situation contained. Panic gripped major cities as people realized the truth about their visitors. But something unexpected was happening. Instead of breaking down, humanity was coming together. Research teams worldwide began sharing classified projects. Military forces coordinated across traditional rivalry lines, and underground bunkers built during the Cold War were repurposed as civilian shelters. The Zyrexians had meant to intimidate Earth into submission. Instead, they had united it. In orbit, the International Space Station became a crucial observation post. Commander Helen Wu reported strange distortions around the Zyrexian vessels. "It's like they're bending space itself," she transmitted. "Their ships don't move through space. They move space around them." Back in the mountain facility, this information sparked a revelation. Dr. Rodriguez called an emergency meeting of his core team. "We've been thinking about Project Eclipse wrong," he announced, pulling up complicated equations on the main display. "We thought the Mercury artifacts gave us a weapon. What they really gave us was a key." Maya's eyes widened as she understood. The ancient civilization. They weren't trying to break the laws of physics. They found a way to rewrite them. Rodriguez nodded. "The Zyrexians manipulate spacetime like it's clay, shaping it to their will. But Project Eclipse doesn't just bend reality. It can change its fundamental properties within a localized area." The implications were staggering. The Zyrexians' greatest strength, their mastery of current physical laws, could become their greatest weakness. Their technology relied on physics behaving in predictable ways. What would happen when those rules simply changed? As the countdown to the ultimatum's deadline continued, Earth's defensive preparations accelerated. Traditional military forces were positioned to protect civilian populations, even though everyone knew conventional weapons would be useless against the Zyrexians' technology. The real action was happening in secret facilities worldwide. In Australia's outback, engineers activated massive geothermal power plants designed to channel energy to Project Eclipse. Beneath the Antarctic ice, long dormant particle accelerators hummed to life. Deep in the Amazon, quantum entanglement arrays began synchronizing with their counterparts around the globe. Sarah's team made another breakthrough in decoding the Zyrexian transmissions. "General," she called out urgently, "we've found something in their historical records. They've encountered technology like Project Eclipse before, thousands of years ago. It terrified them." Hayes leaned over her station, reading the decoded text. The Zyrexians had discovered ruins similar to those found on Mercury, but instead of studying them, they had destroyed them. Their entire society was built around preventing anyone from accessing that level of technology again. "They're not just afraid of us developing too quickly," Sarah realized. "They're afraid we'll rediscover what that ancient civilization knew. Whatever happened to them, the Zyrexians want to make sure it never happens again." In lunar orbit, construction of the Zyrexians' diplomatic station continued, a facade they maintained even as their weapon platforms moved into position. Earth's representatives had stopped responding to their messages, and the Zyrexians' true nature became increasingly apparent. Commander Wu reported that the distortions around their ships were intensifying. "They're preparing for something big," she transmitted. "The space around their fleet, it's like looking through broken glass." With 18 hours remaining until the deadline, Dr. Rodriguez made a final inspection of Project Eclipse. The sphere of darkness had grown more active, its surface rippling with patterns that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the human eye could process. "Dr. Patel," he called out, "begin final powered-up sequence. All stations, prepare for full activation." Maya's fingers flew across her console, initiating procedures they had only ever simulated. Power plants worldwide are coming online. Quantum synchronization at 67% and rising. "But sir, we're seeing some unusual readings from the core." The darkness within Project Eclipse seemed to pulse in time with an unheard rhythm. Sensors reported impossible data, regions where gravity reversed itself, points where time seemed to flow backwards, spaces where the distance between 2 points changed randomly. "It's not malfunctioning," Rodriguez said, watching the readings with a mixture of fear and awe. "It's waking up." In Jison's command center, Sarah detected new signals from the Ziraxian fleet. "They're scanning us," she reported. "Energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before. They know we're up to something." Hayes immediately opened a secure channel to the mountain facility. "Rodriguez, whatever you're going to do with that thing, we need it ready now. The Ziraxians aren't going to wait for their deadline." As if confirming his words, the crystalline satellites began to glow brighter. Around the world, instruments detected massive energy buildups. The Ziraxians had decided to begin their cleansing early. In the Rocky Mountain facility, alarms blared as Project Eclipse's power levels surged beyond all predictions. The quantum computers monitoring it were registering changes in fundamental constants: the speed of light, the strength of gravity, the basic forces holding atoms together. "Sir," Maya called out, her voice tense, "we're seeing cascade effects throughout the quantum matrix. The changes are becoming self-sustaining. Once we activate it, we might not be able to control it." Rodriguez looked at the sphere of darkness, remembering the warnings they'd found in the Mercury ruins. The ancient civilization hadn't just built advanced technology. They'd created something that could evolve, adapt, and grow beyond its original purpose. "Maybe we're not meant to control it," he said quietly. "Maybe we just need to point it in the right direction." As the Ziraxian weapons powered up and humanity prepared for its greatest test, Project Eclipse pulsed with energy that shouldn't exist in our universe. In just a few hours, the galaxy would learn why it was dangerous to push humanity into a corner. The only question was, what would remain of the laws of physics when the dust settled? In the final hours before the Ziraxian deadline, the atmosphere in Jiazon's command center was tense but focused. Sarah's team had detected unusual energy fluctuations from the alien fleet, patterns that suggested they were preparing for more than just a simple attack. "They're creating some kind of dimensional barrier," she explained to General Hayes, pointing to the complex data streams on her screen. "Once it's complete, nothing on Earth will be able to reach their ships, not even quantum signals." Hayes studied the readings grimly. "They're not just trying to destroy us. They're making sure we can't escape, can't send any messages out. They want to erase all evidence we ever existed." The Ziraxian ships had arranged themselves in a complex geometric pattern around Earth, their crystalline satellites forming an intricate web of energy that began to distort the very fabric of space-time. From the International Space Station, Commander Wu reported that stars visible through the forming barrier appeared to shift and twist in impossible ways. Deep within the Rocky Mountain facility, Project Eclipse continued its mysterious evolution. The sphere of absolute darkness had grown more active, its surface rippling with patterns that seemed to reach into dimensions human eyes were never meant to see. "Primary quantum matrix stabilized," Maya reported, her voice steady despite the circumstances. "Power levels are holding at 89% above theoretical maximum." She paused, double-checking her readings. "Sir, we're seeing something new in the core signatures." Dr. Rodriguez moved to her station, studying the complex quantum waveforms. The Mercury ruins had hinted at this possibility, that their creation might develop in ways they hadn't anticipated. The ancient civilization hadn't just built a weapon. They'd created something that could learn and adapt. "Look at these patterns," Maya continued, highlighting specific data points. It's not just responding to our commands anymore. It's anticipating them, creating new configurations we never programmed. Before Rodriguez could respond, the facility's warning systems blared to life. On the main screen, they watched as the Ziraxian fleet began to move, their formation shifting into what was clearly an attack pattern. In Jizon's command center, Sarah's systems detected a massive energy surge from the alien vessels. "They're starting early," she shouted. "Energy readings off the scale. They're powering up their main weapons." General Hayes immediately activated the global defense network. Around the world, underground bunkers sealed themselves, experimental shield generators hummed to life, and every available military asset moved to predetermined positions. But everyone knew conventional defenses would be useless against what was coming. "All stations, this is Hayes," he broadcast on the secure channel. "Project Eclipse is now authorized for full deployment. May God help us all." In the mountain facility, Rodriguez gave the order they'd hoped to never need. "Begin final activation sequence. Transfer all power to the primary array." The darkness within Project Eclipse pulsed, its surface now moving like liquid night. The quantum computers monitoring it registered changes in the fundamental forces of nature: gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, all beginning to fluctuate within the device's influence. Commander Wu's voice crackled over the emergency channel. Multiple energy signatures detected. "The Ziraxians, they're targeting major population centers." Streams of impossible light erupted from the alien ships, each beam capable of erasing a city from existence. They struck Earth's experimental shields, which held for precious seconds before beginning to fail. "Project Eclipse at full power," Maya announced, her voice tight with tension. "Quantum field stable and expanding." "Sir, it's ready." Rodriguez took a deep breath, remembering all the simulations, all the tests, all the theories about what might happen when they fully activated their creation. None of them had prepared him for this moment. "Target the primary Ziraxian vessel," he ordered. "Let's show them why you don't threaten humanity." The sphere of darkness pulsed once, twice, and then reality itself seemed to hiccup. In the space around the lead Ziraxian ship, the laws of physics began to change. Gravity reversed itself, then sideways, then ceased to exist entirely. The speed of light became variable, changing from moment to moment. The fundamental forces holding atoms together weakened and strengthened randomly. On the Ziraxian command ship, Supreme Director Vax watched in horror as their most advanced sensors tried to make sense of what was happening. "Impossible," they'd whispered in their native tongue. "They've done it. They found the key." The Ziraxian ship shields, designed to bend and manipulate spacetime, suddenly found themselves trying to bend something that refused to follow any rules at all. In a cascade of impossible events, their defensive systems began to fail. Sarah's voice carried across all channels. "It's working. Their shields are collapsing. Their weapons are powering down." But Project Eclipse wasn't finished. The sphere of darkness pulsed again, and the changes began to spread. The space around Earth rippled like water, the Ziraxians' containment grid shattering, as reality itself rejected their attempts to control it. "Multiple signatures breaking formation," Commander Wu reported. "The Ziraxian fleet. They're retreating." In the mountain facility, Maya's eyes widened as she studied the latest readings. "Dr. Rodriguez, the quantum field, it's still expanding. And it's changing." The darkness within Project Eclipse had begun to glow with an inner light that shouldn't exist, its surface now showing patterns that seemed to represent new laws of physics being written in real time. The ancient civilization's creation wasn't just breaking the rules, it was creating new ones. "All stations, hold positions," Hayes ordered. "This isn't over yet." He was right. As the Ziraxian fleet retreated to a safe distance, Project Eclipse continued its mysterious evolution. Humanity had survived the immediate threat, but they had also awakened something that might reshape their understanding of the universe itself. In orbit, Commander Wu watched as space itself seemed to heal, the distortions created by the Ziraxian weapons fading away. But in their place, new patterns were forming. Patterns that suggested the laws of physics around Earth would never be quite the same again. The battle was won, but the true implications of humanity's defense were just beginning to unfold. They hadn't just survived an alien invasion. They'd changed the fundamental nature of reality itself. And somewhere in the depths of space, other civilizations were about to learn that humanity was not to be underestimated. The aftermath of Project Eclipse's activation brought changes that no one, not even its creators, had fully anticipated. As the Ziraxian fleet maintained their distance at the edge of the solar system, Earth's scientists worked frantically to understand what their defense had unleashed. In Jizazon's command center, Sarah stared at readings that defied conventional physics. The affected areas aren't just returning to normal, she reported to General Hayes. They're establishing new patterns, like the fundamental laws of reality are being rewritten. Across the globe, observatories reported strange phenomena. Gravity behaved differently in seemingly random patches of space, light bent in impossible ways. Time itself flowed at varying rates in different regions around Earth's orbit. Dr. Rodriguez and his team worked without rest, trying to understand what Project Eclipse had become. The sphere of darkness now pulsed with a rhythm that matched no known natural frequency, its surface rippling with equations that wrote themselves in light. It's not just a weapon anymore, Maya explained, pointing to complex data streams. The Mercury artifacts. They weren't just teaching us how to break physics. They were showing us how to evolve it. From the Ziraxian command ship, a new transmission arrived. Unlike their previous messages, this one carried a tone of something humanity had never heard from them before. Fear. You have awakened that which should remain dormant, Supreme Director Vax's message stated. The key was sealed away for a reason. The old ones, they did not vanish. They transformed, and now you follow their path. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Rodriguez's team detected something unprecedented. The quantum field generated by Project Eclipse had begun to respond to human thoughts and intentions. It wasn't just changing reality. It was changing it in ways that somehow aligned with humanity's needs and desires. The ancient civilization, Rodriguez theorized during an emergency briefing. They didn't go extinct. They didn't just build advanced technology. They found a way to evolve beyond the physical constraints of the universe itself. Commander Wu, still monitoring from the ISS, reported more strange observations. The space around Earth, it's like it's becoming more flexible. As if reality itself is learning to adapt to us, rather than us having to adapt to it. The Ziraxians maintained their distance, their fleet now merely observing. Their weapon platforms, once so threatening, seemed primitive compared to what Project Eclipse had unleashed. But their continued presence suggested they were waiting for something. Sarah's team made another breakthrough in decoding their transmissions. General, she called out, I think I understand why they're so afraid. The Mercury ruins, they weren't just left by the ancient civilization. They were left specifically for us to find. Hayes leaned over her station, reading the decoded text. What do you mean? The Ziraxians found similar ruins, but they couldn't activate them. The technology responded differently to different species. It was selecting its inheritors. In the mountain facility, Project Eclipse continued its mysterious evolution. The darkness within it had begun to show images, glimpses of other dimensions, other possibilities, other ways that reality could be structured. It's not just changing our local space, Maya reported. It's showing us options, different ways the universe could work. And somehow, it's letting us choose. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just defended itself, it had been given the keys to reshape reality itself. The ancient civilization hadn't vanished. They had evolved beyond physical form, leaving behind tools for other species they deemed worthy to follow their path. Sir, Sarah's voice carried urgency as new data came in. The Ziraxians, They're sending a new type of transmission. It's being broadcast to the entire galaxy. The message was simple but profound. The inheritors have awakened. The great transform begins again. Around Earth, the strange phenomena continued to spread, but always in ways that seemed to benefit humanity rather than harm it. Gravity became stronger or weaker as needed for space travel. Light bent to allow faster communication. Time flowed differently to aid in scientific observations. It's like the universe itself is becoming cooperative, Commander Wu observed, adapting itself to help us grow. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Rodriguez watched as Project Eclipse displayed increasingly complex patterns. "We thought we were building a weapon," he said quietly. "We were really building an evolution engine." The Xeraxian fleet finally broke their silence with a direct transmission to Earth's leaders. Supreme Director Vax appeared on screens worldwide, their alien features showing clear signs of stress. "We sought to prevent this," they announced. "Our entire civilization was built around stopping another species from reaching this point. We remembered the chaos when the old ones transformed. We feared the changes they brought to reality itself." They paused, their multiple eyes blinking in sequence. "But now we understand. We were not meant to be the guardians. We were meant to be the testers, pushing promising species to the point where they would either unlock their true potential or prove themselves unworthy." In Jiazazan's command center, Hayes and Sarah watched as new data poured in from across the galaxy. Other civilizations were responding to the Xeraxian broadcast, some with fear, others with wonder. Humanity's defense had not just changed Earth, it had triggered something on a galactic scale. Project Eclipse pulsed again, and this time the changes were even more profound. The laws of physics didn't just bend, they transformed, offering humanity possibilities that had once been deemed impossible by the very nature of reality. "It's not just showing us how to change the universe," Maya realized. "It's teaching us how to grow beyond it, just like the ancient civilization did." As the implications of their situation became clear, Earth's leaders gathered in emergency sessions. Humanity stood at a crossroads. They could either embrace this evolution, this chance to transform into something beyond their current understanding, or they could try to maintain the reality they knew. The sphere of darkness waited, pulsing with potential, offering humanity a choice that would affect not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The Xeraxians watched, their role as testers complete, waiting to see what path their unexpected inheritors would choose. In the depths of space, other ancient artifacts began to activate, responding to the changes Project Eclipse had initiated. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do with the power to rewrite the very rules of existence. The war was over, but the true transformation was just beginning. In the weeks following Project Eclipse's activation, Earth existed in a state of profound transformation. The laws of physics continued to shift and evolve around the planet, creating what scientists had begun calling adaptive zones, regions where reality itself responded to human needs and intentions. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at her station in GSON's command center, monitoring the latest data from these zones. "It's like watching evolution in fast forward," she explained to General Hayes, "except it's not just life evolving. It's the fundamental structure of the universe itself." The Xeraxian fleet remained at the edge of the solar system, their role transformed from would-be conquerors to witnesses of something they had spent millennia trying to prevent. Their presence served as a reminder of how quickly humanity's position in the galaxy had changed. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Rodriguez and Maya worked to understand the true nature of what they had unleashed. Project Eclipse had evolved beyond its original form. The sphere of darkness now existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, its surface displaying equations that rewrote themselves in real time. "Look at this pattern," Maya said, pointing to a complex series of quantum fluctuations. "It's not just changing reality, it's teaching us how to guide those changes." The ancient civilization, they weren't just leaving us technology, they were leaving us instructions. Commander Wu, now leading a team of astronauts studying the changes in orbit, reported phenomena that defied traditional physics. Space travel within the adaptive zones had become almost intuitive. Spacecraft could achieve velocities that should have been impossible, protected by localized changes in the laws of motion themselves. It's like the universe is learning what we need, she transmitted from the ISS. We're not just discovering new physics, we're helping write it. The Xeraxians' final message had sparked a galaxy-wide response. Other civilizations, some previously unknown to Earth, began sending transmissions. Some were fearful, others curious, but all recognized that something fundamental had changed in the cosmic order. They're calling us the New Shapers, Sarah translated from one alien transmission. Some of these species, they'd been waiting for this, watching for signs of another civilization reaching this point. In the mountain facility, Project Eclipse revealed more of its purpose. The patterns it displayed weren't just showing changes in physical laws, they were showing possibilities, potential futures where humanity evolved beyond their current limitations. It's a roadmap, Rodriguez realized, studying the shifting equations. The ancient civilization, they didn't just ascend. They left behind tools to help others follow them, but only species that would use that power responsibly. The changes spreading from Earth weren't chaotic or destructive. They were selective, precise, almost elegant in their implementation. Physical laws bent and transformed, but always in ways that promoted growth and exploration rather than destruction. Supreme Director Vax requested a final meeting with Earth's leaders. Their image appeared in conference rooms worldwide, their alien features now showing something close to acceptance. We were wrong, they admitted. For millennia, we believed our duty was to prevent another civilization from reaching this point. We remembered the chaos when the ancients transformed, how reality itself seemed to break. But we didn't understand. The chaos wasn't destruction. It was evolution. Hayes listened carefully to the translation. And now, what role will the Xeraxian Concordat play? We will watch. We will learn. Perhaps in time, we will understand why the ancients chose your species over ours. The power to shape reality. It requires wisdom beyond mere technological advancement. As if responding to these words, Project Eclipse pulsed with new patterns. The adaptive zones around Earth began to stabilize, not returning to their original state, but settling into new configurations that somehow felt more natural, more aligned with human consciousness. The changes, Maya reported, studying the latest data, they're not random anymore. They're forming patterns, networks of modified physics that work together. It's like reality is learning to speak our language. In orbit, Commander Wu's team made another discovery. The adaptive zones weren't just affecting space and time. They were beginning to influence consciousness itself. Human minds were evolving, developing new ways of perceiving and understanding the transformed reality around them. We're changing too, she reported. Not just our technology, not just our environment. We're becoming something new, something that can exist in this evolved universe we're helping create. Sarah's team detected similar patterns in the quantum field data. It's a symbiotic process, she explained. We're not just changing reality. Reality is changing us. The ancient civilization, this must be how they transformed. Not by forcing their way beyond physical limits, but by growing alongside the universe itself. The sphere of darkness that had once been Project Eclipse pulsed with increasing complexity, its patterns now suggesting possibilities that even the most advanced human scientists could barely comprehend. But somehow, intuitively, they could feel the rightness of what was happening. We're not just inheriting the ancients' legacy, Rodriguez said during a global broadcast. We're being invited to join them, to evolve beyond what we thought was possible. But we're doing it our way, shaped by human consciousness, human values. Around the world, people began to adapt to their new reality. The changes weren't forcing humanity in any particular direction. They were offering options, possibilities, paths of development that each individual and community could choose to explore or not. The Xeraxian fleet finally began their departure, but not before sharing one last message. We will tell others what we have witnessed here. How a species we thought to contain proved instead to be the next custodians of reality itself. The galaxy watches, Earth, show us what the next evolution of consciousness can achieve. As the alien ships disappeared into deep space, Earth continued its transformation. The adaptive zones expanded and stabilized, creating a new normal that somehow felt more real than what had come before. Humanity stood at the beginning of a journey that would reshape not just their world, but their very nature. Project Eclipse, now more of a partner than a tool, continued to pulse with possibilities. The ancient civilization had chosen well in their inheritors. Humanity had proven they could face extinction with innovation, face overwhelming odds with determination, and face cosmic power with wisdom. The war was over. The transformation was proceeding. And in the vast expanse of space, reality itself waited to see what humanity would become.